All right.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I think we're still waiting.
We're waiting.
Yeah, there's no one in the chat yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We'll be waiting for people to show up a bit.
Oh, I was talking to you guys. No wonder you guys didn't say anything. It
You
was.
are on mute.
Practice makes perfect.
I didn't want you guys to hear any background noise while we're waiting. That was hilarious. I was saying that I was listening to. I started listening to the talk with you and Jabari.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really good. I'm a Garveyite myself. In fact,
Hmm.
I think I told you my grandson's name is Messiah, which is Marcus
Nice.
Garvey's middle name.
Good.
Oh, there's one of my favorite people. He's here.
Hey.
Hey, lady, how are you?
Oh yeah, peace.
We're just waiting a little bit more for people to show up. BAIO is here. Some of our regulars. I hope they have good comments and feedback for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
And there's Nija.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Did anyone talk to Helena?
Yes, I spoke to her recently. She's in school.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, she'll be back, but she's trying to work that out.
Oh, Salima, there's a message for you from Underrated.
Just let me know what you need. I got you. You see how long that lasted, though? That's the important part.
How long did he have it?
It's been months since he made his order. It's been some time.
I'm still working my way through my jar too. That
Mhm.
jar size is perfect. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting.
I know you're waiting, and I'm so sorry. Like I've been so busy. I have some people that are like, okay, and I'm like, these pop up shops are literally killing me at this point.
Hmm.
Um, and I just got somebody just reserved me for the first Friday of every month.
Oh, that's good
So
business.
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good thing.
mhm, So I
Yeah.
just got the text message and I was like, oh, that's what we doing. She was like, yeah, we need you every Friday. And I
Oh,
was like, okay.
okay then.
Sweet, sweet.
That's nice,
Hey,
girl.
Naja. Hey, sis.
7:05. So we'll give him 5 more minutes and then we'll start.
Yep, I'm good with that. Oh yeah, he received his order in January. Mhm. So he's going on a full 2 months, 3 months now.
Hmm. Good.
So
Keep the customer happy. Keep him buying.
absolutely.
He obviously loves the product.
And he received a bunch of grapes, like two of my best scents. So
Good. Okay, we are locked and loaded tonight. We have quite a bit of topics to cover. We only have an hour actually, ladies. So you know what? Maybe we should start because this thing is only good for an hour. Is that correct?
yeah, it is. It's for an
Mhm.
hour.
Okay, so I guess I'll start then. Welcome, everyone. This is my first live on the SFN channel. And if you don't know who's speaking, this is a Asire or Akire, depending on how you wish to pronounce it. Um, and I've been a contributor of sorts with putting together presentations and just basically connecting the dots and helping behind the scenes with communications. So we have tried over the last couple of weeks to garner some information from members to find out what do they want to hear about, what do they want to talk about. So when Mari approached me with one of the members' question, I thought, oh, this is a bit of a challenge. So the question was, we don't know how to date. No one teaches us how to date. And I thought, yeah, I agree with that. No one taught me, you know, didn't really get an instruction manual. But at the same time, that's not really our expertise as far as to instruct other people how to do that. So I had to think of how would we fit it into what we do here at the BAIO? What is our purpose and our why? Why do we exist? So this is our answer to that. And we hope to have a series out of this. So what you're going to receive today is just part one. We still have a lot more layers that we want to share with you. Hopefully, it goes up to a 3, 4, or 5 part series. But today, we're going to dive into part one. So, a big welcome. We're very excited as members of the BAIO to have a place where like minded individuals can get together and to progress and develop. We are a unique bunch. As such, we have things in common and what we share is learning and progressing towards a shared vision. So, in doing this work, we are committed to building strong relationships amongst ourselves as well as new members on the continent. And that's essentially what I had to piece together. It's like, why do we need to build relationships? Why is that important? It's important because this is the foundation, whether we stay on this continent or we go to the next continent of our choosing. We need to be somewhat skilled in developing relationships. We may not be received well in every place that we go, but we need to understand how we would break down those barriers. Um, it will take much personal investment to connect or confront or even cajole as we build those bridges. So, based on ideas that have come from our members, we dissected the relevant content and context to have a rigorous discussion with everyone today. So, what you'll engage in today is the response to the philosophical question of know thyself, which is a phrase made famous by, some philosopher named Socrates. So, um, what we're trying to identify is even dating, that's part of interpersonal relationships. Friendship is part of interpersonal relationships. Being an employee, that's a component of interpersonal relationships. The family dynamic is where a lot of us have our learnings from, good, bad, or indifferent. But interpersonal relationships are going to be needed in business, are going to be needed in life, in your romantic life, in any life. You need interpersonal skills. Okay. So just to give you a brief understanding, don't want to read the whole 5 paragraphs here, but just so we have the same, we're on the same page. The concept of interpersonal relationships involves social associations, connections, or affiliations between two or more people. Interpersonal relationships vary in their degree of intimacy or self disclosure, but also in their duration, in their reciprocity, and in their power distribution, to name only a few dimensions. The context can vary from family or kinship relations, friendship, marriage relations, with associates, work, clubs, neighborhoods, and places of worship. The association may be based on inference, love, solidarity, support, regular business interactions, or some other type of social connection or commitment. Interpersonal relationships thrive through equitable and reciprocal compromise. They form in the context of social, cultural, and other influences. So, just so you understand, and I'd like to get some feedback, um, this has been studied. Science, there are certain communication fields that study this stuff to understand how humans communicate. What do we want from each other? Aside from our animal instincts, how do we get things done? It's through communication. So it's an essential part of life, of walking this planet, calling yourself a human being. So if you have a different understanding of what a human being does or what we do here at the BAIO as far as communicating and trying to build alliances, we need to really dissect that and understand how we build that foundation together and what is it that we're trying to accomplish. Because think about it, if you want to do business on the continent, you need to have communication skills. Communication skills, we're not all born with it. These are actual skills that you have to develop over time. Some people are readers, they like to read. I know I'm a reader, I love to read information and I like to process it. And I like to also experiment and try it out to see how it actually works. Some people just go with what they were taught from their family of origin and they don't try to apply new information. So I think it's essential to at least one time in your life dig into this topic because it fuels everything that we do. If we are not good communicators, we're not skilled at communicating, we can't build those alliances with other people to do business or to, carry out the functions of the BAIO. Communication skills are essential. So with that, that's enough of me talking. I want to turn it over to Salima to discuss the first section, which is going to be social. She has a lot to say, and I can't wait for her to add her pieces to this. Go ahead, Salima.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This series that we're doing is huge. We typically don't have this type of information that's directed directly towards us as a people. We typically don't have conversations about how we should and shouldn't communicate with one another, how we should and shouldn't interact with one another. Um, One of our largest or one of our biggest problems that we have as a people is that we don't trust one another. And that is due to lack of proper communication. Um, that's due to a lot of the things that we've been taught about one another from outside entities. So what we have to do is now build those relationships back up to a place where we trust one another. We have great social skills with one another where we're interacting with each other on a more interpersonal uh, format. So with social skills, a theory, she said it perfectly. With social skills, that could be friendship, an intimate relationship, or a intimate partner. It could be business. There's so many different ways that we communicate socially, and in communicating with one another, we have to form bonds, and that's one of the things that we don't do as a people. We don't form close bonds with one another, and the bonds that we do have, they tend to be so fragile, because we don't know how to communicate with one another properly. So that's one of the things that we just have to definitely work on and be vigilant and make sure that we are communicating with each other properly. And I always say I'm big on the words that we use. The wording that we use is so, so important. Um, uh, I was listening to one of Mark's interviews, and he used the word that, and I'm probably going to pronounce it incorrectly. A Siri, what was that word that he used? Uh, when you guys did the conversation about Will Smith smacking Chris Rock, do you remember what that word was?
That was conflation.
Conflation, right? And it was strange that I was listening to that particular interview when I had all of these things in my mind, because that's an awesome word for what we do when we typically interact with one another.
Mm,
We mix up and just put things in places where they don't need to be, and it gets conflated. It just, nothing is, and there's times where things need to be conflated, but there's some times when they just don't. So this week has been a week where things have just been falling into place in reference to the conversations that we were having about social interacting and interpersonal relationships, um, because we tend to leave things unsaid. We tend to do things according to um, emotions as opposed to what should actually be on the table.
right.
So having social skills is a huge thing. Having social skills. I have great social skills within my family, and people look at the relationship I have with my nieces and nephews, and they think it's kind of strange, but they're able to talk to me about anything. And you wouldn't my nieces and nephews range from the age of 32 to 10 months old. And I have an actual relationship with each and every one of those people according to who they are. So we just can't broad stroke and say this is my brother and this is how I treat all my brothers. That's just
Yeah.
not how things work, you know. So we have to make sure that we garner, these relationships to a point where I know when I speak to X, Y, and Z, I know exactly how I need to speak to them.
Yeah.
And if not, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think about the point that we've been given a Western education? We're very Western minded. And in that education, we have significant distortions when it comes to relationship. We've been told about the fairy tale as women, the Prince Charming, and all of that nonsense. And we have all kinds of this going on, being driven by Hollywood, being driven by, folk tales or whatever about how we should get love or give love. And then we have our religious upbringing, which gives us morals, but not uh, clear relationship guidance, you
Hmm.
know, what your parents would provide or what a close relative would provide. Like, I feel at 56 years old, I'm connecting these dots and putting these things together and really learning things for the first time.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And that's a huge that's why I said, and I want to keep expressing that when we have our own nation, there's certain things that we have to have in place. There are certain things that we have to make sure that our children and the adults as well, because like you said, we're still learning things because of our flawed upbringing, that we have to learn on a day-to-day basis. Those things have to be woven into the fabric of our nation, where we are building, we're teaching one another how to build relationships that are constructive, you know. So that's one of the things that we just have to have, and it can't just be sisters that are, building these particular, blocks of our foundation. We have to have brothers and sisters doing these things, because I don't know how a brother wants me to express something to him. He's going to have
Right.
to teach me that, you
Right.
know? And we have to be so open and so vulnerable that those things are going to just come to us easily. We have to break down those walls have been built up over centuries, So that's going to be it's going to be difficult. Don't get me wrong, but it's something that has to be done. So I think that we need to, and a lot of times we also we tend to not understand where those different types of social relationships, where they are. Sometimes those lines are blurred.
Yeah.
Um, and that, like, it has to be clear and concise, you
Yeah.
know. We have to make sure that we're running in the line that we're supposed to be in with, whomever we're dealing with.
But
So
where do we begin? Where do you think we begin in terms of um learning how to communicate all, all the things that we're talking about and all the things we're gonna share tonight? Where do you think that we begin? I mean, like, I can tell my and I'll tell you where I think it begins. I think it begins at the kitchen table. I think it
mhm,
begins I think we need to bring back, and I certainly didn't do it, but we need to bring back, and for those who are doing it, that's awesome, sitting at the table and eating meals together instead of everybody being on their phones, or everybody being on their own floor, or but we need to bring that back, because that's when, and for those who are doing it, I commend. But I think the learning how to communicate starts with sitting at the dining table, and the parents making that effort to engage children and teach, us, like you were sharing. You always talk about your in the nation, and how there's so many classes and things that you guys talk about on a regular basis, which I think is beautiful. And I think that so many things that you've shared in the nation, we could really use for those of us that are outside of the nation.
Absolutely. It's funny that you even mentioned sitting at the table. My birthday just passed a, a week or two ago.
Happy
And we
birthday.
had a thank you. We had a dinner, and my 18-year-old nephew, he said, "I'm so happy that we're just sitting down at the table." That's what
Hmm.
he because he we I mean they used to do it when he was younger, and then as they start to get older, they started to do, like you said, go up in the bedroom or at the game, or some people aren't even at home for dinner. But that he remembered that feeling of everyone sitting down and being at the table. And I could see how happy he was, because that was something that we had done, you know, as he was growing up. So it's something that's very important to just sit down and decompress and be free enough to have a conversation with your family.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely correct. Um,
Yeah.
and I also think that when I bring up the classes um, that we had in the Nation of Islam, or that we have in the Lost Town Nation of Islam, I have no clue of all that went on in the FOI class. It's just not my business. I never even asked the question to a
Is that the
brother,
brothers?
like, what do you guys talk about? I've never had, that's because that's their time. It's not my business as a sister to sit there and say, well, what do what do you, it's not even our culture to even ask like your husband or your wife, what happened in MGP class or what happened in FOI class. That's just not, that's not our business. So you're leaving the men and the women free to build up their social skills, to build up their skills that you need as a man, as a woman. You're leaving them free to do those things. Absolutely, absolutely, brother. It is forbidden. It's forbidden, and that's why I don't know. It was forbidden for us to talk about what happened in that class. I'm sorry. What happened in those classes? It was like it just wasn't my business. So when he said it was forbidden, I remembered that from when I was a kid, hearing it's forbidden, but I just never even. It never came over. It came to my mind. Let me go ask brother what they talked about today in FOI. It's not our business. Like I said, leave those lines where they are. Those lines don't need to be blurred. And in those classes, you are able to ask questions that you probably would not ask in a setting of brothers and sisters together. It should be a situation where the people are free to ask questions freely, and not be judged on what they're asking. So we have to make sure we have those safe spaces where we can have conversations, and those conversations stay in those walls with those people, and it's not shared outside. You know, we don't feel safe with one another. You know what I mean? Like I don't. This,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, Black people feel like I can't trust my brother, I can't trust my sister. We have to create safe spaces so that we can have these conversations and do what we need to do to grow as a people, because that's something that we just don't have. That was one of the biggest things that was one of the best parts about being in the Lost Foundation of Islam. The brotherhood, the sisterhood, the fact that we were able to communicate with one another in that open forum, and be just, you know, and be free to have that information, get that information from somebody that you trust. So I think
Excellent.
that's important.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about something that will eventually come up when you're going down this path of restoring relationships. And it seems that a lot of people are asking for better knowledge. They, after what we went through in the last couple of years, people are have a great mistrust of governments and authoritative figures. So they're asking for better knowledge. They're realizing that they didn't get the truth, and they're seeking that. And they want to know how to stay connected. They want those skills. They want to be successful in relationships. I think that's an earnest thing that people want. They want tools because this is a modern world and we have much on our plates as African people that we can't afford to go down the path of inaccuracies or misrepresentation. So I like the idea that you had brought up about the marriage book. If you would talk about that, I just wanted to share this quote first about we think we want sex. It's not always about sex. It's intimacy we want to be touched, looked at, admired, smiled at, laugh with someone, feel safe, feel like someone's really got you. That's what we crave. And I think that's the human need. But our society is so focused on sexual attraction that
Mhm.
that's what we end up looking at and doing. And that's what's talked about and that's what's communicated. But we're really seeking intimacy at the end of
Yes,
the day.
absolutely. And it's funny that you use that quote because I actually wrote that in my notes to mention, but I don't have to now because you just did it. This is amazing. I love that we're on the same wavelength. Um, in regards to the marriage book, um, can you put that picture up for me?
Okay, let me see. I don't know
I
why
know. Don't
I
worry
agreed
about
to
it. It's
do
okay.
the
Don't worry about
slideshow.
it.
I'm not doing the slideshow again. Somebody else who's more savvy should be doing the slideshow. So apologies to those who will watch this, who's watching it. I am terribly sorry that I agreed to do this slideshow, this presentation.
No, no, you're
I just
fine.
wanted to put that out there. Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. Um, let's see. Let me see.
So
Go ahead.
while she's looking for it, the marriage book, we call it the Katub al Katab. It's basically the foundation of the marriage. Um, the brother and the sister they sit down either with their captains or the minister, depending on how the mosque is set up, and they go through everything. Who's going to wash the dishes? Who's going to take out the trash? Who's going to change 10 diapers? Who's going to change 15 diapers? Everything is in this book because it's your foundation. It's telling you what needs to happen in your marriage. And you're signing everyone knows that marriage is a contract. So you're signing a contract, and what we just sign a contract and say, hey, I'm married now with no direction whatsoever. So that's why a lot of marriages don't work because you don't have a foundation. So, I mean, I remember the first time that um, I saw a book, a Kutub al Kitab, and it was one of the most beautiful books that I've ever seen in my life. It was just so gorgeous. It was
There it is.
there it is. Could you imagine that on your mantle and that being the center of your marriage?
Yeah, that's
You
beautiful.
know, your marriage Bible, so to speak. So when there are problems in the marriage, you can go there and you can say, listen, brother, you said you was taking out this trash. Like, you have not taken out the trash in 2 days, but I got it here in black and white. Can you please just go take out that trash? So it's something that you have that's tangible that you can put your hands on, and you can say, this is what our marriage is based upon. We're only going to have 3 children. That's it. I don't care if you wanted a football team. We put in this book that we are having 3 children, and that's what we're going to have. I mean, sure, there's going to be extra pages so you can, add things in there, take things out. What are the when they change the Constitution? What are those
Amendments.
uh I'm sorry,
Amendments.
amendments? Yes, there's pages in this bonded, beautiful, elaborate book, so you can put amendments in there, so that as you all grow and as you change as a couple, as a family, you can update this book. So I think that that's something that we should all look at, um, because we are just out here, you know, just freeballing everything, relationships, life, how we're going to make money. And that shouldn't be the case. We should have some type of direction. Um, and I think that that would be something that just would help us out as a people
I
to
like that
have a
point.
right, and it's like I said, I remember the first time I saw one, it was one of the most, it was so gorgeous. And I was like, wow. And I asked all these questions to the couple. I think I was like 14 or 15 years old. And they said that they had come up with the color scheme together. They had picked out the bind, the leather cover that they were going to put on in it. Um, I remember that their pages were not a normal color. It was like almost like a greenish tint to the page, and they chose those pages, and I was like, wow, like y'all really thought about. They sat down and they thought about what this book was going to look like. So I could just imagine how much time went into the words on the pages, you know. So I think that's something that we should definitely have. Of course, there's no compulsion. We can't force you. Oh, you want to be a part of the BAIO? When you get married, you got to have a book, a marriage book. Of course, we can't force you to do anything. It's just a suggestion, so that we can have a healthy a relationship where we have something to base that relationship off of, other than just emotions and the way the person makes you feel. Because those emotions and feelings over time could either fade, change. Um, so what are you basing this relationship on?
Which is a good point, right?
Right.
So
Right. Also, did anybody read? Because I was so caught up in trying to get the PowerPoint situated. Did we talk about? Did anyone read what we think about sex? Did we get to that point?
We have.
no.
Okay.
Well, there was a question in this about this too, about I'd like to hear from the audience if the
Right.
brothers feel that way
Right.
or what their feelings are regarding this topic. Do men desire intimacy without intricacies, as we have coined it?
Mhm.
And are men more vocal or comfortable about sex?
About the topic, about the conversation, or
Everything.
just okay. Yeah, I would love to hear from the brothers on this too, because this is a topic that women get together and talk about these things. We typically, we're each other's therapists. We're spiritual organizations. A lot, at least the ones that I've been exposed to, Akan, Yoruba, Christianity. It's been filled, the houses are always filled with women. So but yet I know a lot of brilliant and intelligent men. I don't know though how many of them talk to each other about sex or intimacy. So I would love for the brothers to share whether they do talk about these things with each other, or and in addition to, what are their thoughts? Is it easier to have intimacy without the intricacies? Can you do that? Because to me, when you say intimacy without the intricacies, um that means, okay, you have a lover, but you may not have the responsibility of a relationship, you know
Oh, good point.
yeah, or are you in the relationship and still having intimacy without the intricacies, if you follow me?
Yeah.
So what is it? Because I know we women tend to be emotional. We tend to be the ones that's focused on the intricacies and the certain details. So brothers, that's in the chat. Let us know. I can't see it, but let us know what your thoughts are about intimacy versus intricacy, or do you guys even talk to each other about sex and intimacy, or do you have a confidant that you talk to? Because we got to start talking to each other if we're going to change the narrative, and this is the thing. The reason why this topic is important to me, the reason why I think it's important to all of us as members of the BAIO, as members of Sisters for Nationhood, is because we're talking about building a nation state. We're talking about being the change we wish to see in the world. So the reality is there's some things that needs tweaking, there's some things that needs correcting within our communities, and that starts within ourselves, and then that starts with the people that we are interpersonal relationships. To build a solid community, I think we have to have family. We have to have partnership. We need to have, I think it is, yes, it takes a village to raise a child, but I think the village starts with the two parents under the same roof, helping to build those families and and then therefore building those communities, and however you define your relationships too. But I do believe that that interpersonal, this is important because we need to learn how to speak to each other. We need to learn how to change the narratives of in our community, so that we are building, and we're building financial wealth, we're building legacy, generational wealth, and we're taking all this new mindset into our nation state.
Excellent point. We should move on just in the interest of time. It's already 7:42, so I just want to give you that reminder.
Okay.
Mari, yours is the next discussion.
Yeah, so spiritual. So no feedback in the chat room?
I don't see anything yet. I plead the fifth underrated. Yeah, nice. Okay.
He would plead the fifth.
I wonder why. He's not going down that path. We're gonna have to pull him.
Minister Dawood said he wants to call in. I think that would be perfect.
Please do.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna send him the link now.
Okay, good.
Give me a sec.
Nice.
Well, let's listen to him. Maybe we might have to move on to the next week for the rest of this. I don't know.
No, keep going, Mari. You're
okay.
next.
Oh, okay. So you want me to talk? I thought we were going to wait for Dawood. Okay, no problem.
No, he'll come in.
Okay. So I'm going to read something first because I think it's going to connect to what I'm about to say. So, and if you read this, tell me. But I'm sorry, but sex will never be enough just for me to stick around. I need my soul fed. I need spiritual growth. Teach me, mold me, guide me, talk to me, love me, connect with me, and understand me. I do believe that every human being that exits his or her mom's womb, I believe that that is ultimately our soul's calling. I believe that we need to be spiritually fed. I believe that we want to be spoken to. We want to connect. We want to be touched. But most importantly, and it's in caps, we want to be understood. We want our feelings and our thought processes to be validated. And I believe that a lot of our brokenness comes from not feeling validated, again, starting from home, not feeling validated. So then we're seeking the acceptance, we're seeking the love, we're seeking the attention from other people. But because we're not understood, our soul craves to be understood. Another thing that I want to read says, if you speak from your soul, she, and this is talking to men, if you speak from your soul, she will feel it. That's why she's the divine feminine. Her intuition is the earth. And let me know, guys, when Dawood is in, okay? So I can stop because I can't.
He's here.
Okay, all right,
Good.
yeah, brother. Peace, brother Dawood.
Peace. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was in. Peace and love to all my lovely sisters.
Peace and love.
Might I say I love the look that you have with your hair. It
Oh
looks
well,
different.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Looks very different. Much
Yeah.
love to all three of you. So what was we talking about? We was talking about do brothers seek for intimacy without or without intricacy? Is what you said.
Yes.
Yes.
Intimacy without intricacies.
So here's the thing. The thing is that I believe the answer is yes. I believe it depends on so the men that are interested in nationhood generally are more evolved men. And because they're more evolved, I think that you would get a lot more of them saying yes. The problem is with the American and the European system that we have, it makes it very easy for either male or female to bail on each other. And
Mm,
so the idea of the book that Salima had, there's an infrastructure to support that idea. And the infrastructure of the, whether it's whatever version of the Nation of Islam is, you have a whole nation of people backing you up, saying y'all got to work this shit out. You know what I'm saying? Whereas in a normal situation, you just basically dealing with society, and you could back out, you could not do what's in that book, and there's going to be really be no consequences unless it gets to the point where it's legal. But inside of a nation, where this is where I think that because when we first started the BAIO in the early years, we had a member that used to always criticize us about doing shows all the time. And me and Holla tried to tell this individual, listen, bro, the propaganda side of the nation is the most important side. You may think that it's the infrastructure, you may think that it's marching, you may think that it's you may think whatever it is. The propaganda side of any black organization is the most important because you got to retrain people in mind on how to think. So if we're going to start talking about how we're going to get together as men and women, there has to be a huge propaganda push that's against what we have in America, because what we have in America has produced what, an 80% divorce rate. And so I guess in a long-winded way, my answer is yes, definitely men want intricacy with intimacy. I think the intimacy without, or the sex without intimacy or sex without intricacy problem, that comes from a lot of men who either were raised to just look for that, or men that wanted that and had stars in their eyes, and they found out that they got the raw end of the stick trying to look for that. So then, they go on YouTube, they go into these mail spaces, and they're told that basically you shouldn't be looking for that anyway. Somebody said something that really knocked me off my seat a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still wrestling with this. One of the brothers in what you call the manosphere or the red pill space said, basically, there's a difference between a white manosphere and a black manosphere. He said in the black manosphere, the coaches and gurus try to teach them how to stay with women, how to get your ex back, how to fall in love, stuff like that. In the black manosphere, they just teach you how to hook up. I thought that was sorry.
mm,
I
yeah.
really did. And you know what? I have to admit that all of the videos that I've seen that come from the quote unquote manosphere, not really talking about building long term relationships, intimate connections, things like that. It's basically teaching you how to get as much booty as you can and not look stupid while you're doing it. And so if you look at the way white people have portrayed the Will Smith and Jada debacle compared to how black people, it's very different. With black people, it's focused on which one of them is right and which one of them comes out without the most damage from the other. The
Right.
white people are looking at them as a whole. And so this is what I think nationhood does for us. Nationhood puts an infrastructure around us that makes us accountable to the idea, the kind of idea that Salima had with the book. Because if you don't have an infrastructure surrounding you to make you um, stick to that, then what's going to happen is it's just going to be an idea. And the woman may bail out, the man may bail out. They may say, "Well, screw that. I'm not taking out a goddamn thing. I don't have to." What is Hollip going to come to my house and make me? You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of talk that you get when you don't have an infrastructure. But when you do, and everybody believes in it, well, you already know you got to face your brothers and you got to face your sisters the next day. And if you say, well, I didn't feel like it, they're going to ask you why. That's not going to be acceptable enough. And so I think that when we're talking about this kind of thing, how to relate to one another, there has to be some things that's in place that make us not you can't do it on your own will. It makes you have to work it out. And we're going to have to do this for at least 50 years
Mhm.
because we got like 50 years we got 50 years worth of damage to our relationships that we need somebody to enforce that on us. This is the one reason why I used to laugh back in the day when I was an active member of the nation. I would come on Blog Talk Radio and there would be hundreds of thousands of people talking against the nation. The nation ain't this, the nation ain't that. I'd be like, fool, it has problems, but do you understand what we were trying to solve?
Right.
Above and beyond, I know there's the religious aspect to it and stuff like that that people don't like. But just the domestic thing that they were trying to solve between men and women, you mean to tell me the whole thing is garbage? The whole thing is corrupt? And they wouldn't answer that question. So I would laugh at them because I would say, you go on ahead in your loose ass group that you were part of, where they let you do everything, and let's see if you honor whatever tradition you say you're going to honor in relationships. And I bet you won't. And what happened is years later, as we all come together in the BIO, there's a lot of horror stories of people that were not in these quote unquote religious groups that tried to be in relationships and they had dudes that was screwing them over and dealing with 3 and 4 women, beating on them and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
And all I would do is sit back and say, listen, you wouldn't have been able to do that in the nation. We would have killed that dude behind that. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You
Right.
you
Right.
I would laugh because y'all had y'all fun criticizing us all these years, and now look at the fallout of what you were a part of.
Right.
So
Yeah.
either way, I guess what I'm saying, sis, if I would say anything, is that none of the ideas that we're going to talk about on this show is going to happen unless we have the proper infrastructure around us that makes us accountable and gives us the checks and balances that we need. Because even I could tell you that what I do know from being a minister was there were certain books, and Salima will know these books that
Mhm.
women were made to read, like Fascinating Womanhood and things like that.
Yep.
And there were certain books that us men had to read. But as the rules got looser and there was less accountability, ain't nobody was reading those books, and ain't nobody was practicing those books. I really feel like if you're not going to have an infrastructure around you that forces you to follow certain rules and regulations, you really got to have it in your heart that you intentionally want to change this thing. Because if you don't, you know what I'm saying? It's just going to keep going the same way it's going.
I like what you're saying though, because you pointed out accountability. And I think that's the key to anything that we're doing is to
Right,
have that self accountability. And also, by observation, we keep each other as, we're each other's keeper. So
right,
accountability is the key thing.
right.
Agreed.
We Most of the black movements understood, not just ours, but everyone, in the 60s and the 70s, you could not leave black men and women to their own vices. We all understood that. We understood that coming out of slavery, that we were heavily damaged.
Mm.
So if you study the 60s and 50s and 40s black movements, it was heavily, extremely disciplined. And there was heavy consequences for everything, physical consequences. If you didn't do
Mhm.
what you're supposed to do as a sister, they wasn't just going to smile at you and let you go. They was going to run down on you because they understood that you being a part of this and you doing what you're supposed to do meant something to the whole nation. This is something that Hollip talks about all the time, where he talks about one of our major problems is we think as individuals. If we're to really learn how to get together in relationships, we got to see that our relationship is vital to the whole, not just you, your man, your woman, your children. You're making an intentional act to build a nation through your own family, your unit. And if we see it like that, I think it takes on more of an important role than if we just like, I came into BIO, but I'm just me and I'm gonna get what I need to get. And if they try to tell me what to do, they can't. I'm a grown man. Well, if you think like that, quite frankly, if everybody thinks like that, we'll never get this off the ground.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's why when we brought up when we talked about this PowerPoint, I was like, this is something that book that foundation. In building anything, you need a foundation.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And that book, it resonated with me even when I was so young. I understood the gravity of what that book
Mhm.
held.
Right.
So we have to have foundational, you know, norms in our nation,
Right.
and in building up, even with our children. And um, Minister, I talked about, the things that we're taught in our MGT class in
Hmm.
regards to how we're supposed to speak to our mates, and how we're supposed to rear the children. All of those things were given to us in that class, you
Right.
know. So that's something that the average Black person is not getting this information. So they're just
Right.
out there just flailing around, and they don't even know what they're doing wrong. They don't even know how to correct what they're doing wrong, you
Indeed.
know? So those are the things that we have to bring to our people because we have the information.
I also think, if I was to veggie back off what you're saying, I think that it was a lot. I don't want to say easier, but it was a lot better to follow these kind of practices in the 40s, 50s, and 60s for one basic underlooked reason. There was so much more of us.
Mhm.
There was, you know what I'm saying? Because if your children are growing up in a modern society and you're trying to teach them these kind of what we call traditional values, and then they go to school and none of their friends are in the BIO, none of their friends are in the nation, none of their friends are in a part of this. They're the only person in their city. That's a recipe for disaster because the
Mhm.
children are going to want to be fit in. Like I have Muslim friends that are my age, and I'm 50, and they tell me like, when I was younger, man, I hated it because I got teased for wearing my 3/4 and things like that. Those are really tragic stories because you grew up in the wrong time period. We grew up in the 70s and the 80s where the influence of that particular black movement, insert here, was not as high. So you only had but 3 or 4 people, and you only saw them when you went to the temple, the mosque, or whatever. But when you went to
Right.
school, you saw people that didn't believe like you. When you went to the store, when you played outside, and that really worried, that wears on children, because all of my older 3 children were raised in the nation. They all their last names are Muhammad and all of that. Ask me which one of my children is following the legacy. Not one of them. Not a
Mhm.
single one. And when we were younger, they came to the temple. They loved coming to the temple. They loved Islam. I have pictures of my children where everybody was taught to write the American flag, and my son has the Nation of Islam flag. Like that's how much they loved it. But the problem was is that there was not enough of them. So as a young Muslim man, you growing up in, let's just put it like this: as a young African learning nationhood, how many children around you are learning nationhood also? How many children around you believe and love nationhood? Not many. And
Right.
so the thing that we have to do is we have to make this something that as we build this nation and we recruit more and more people in any given city, it gives us a better chance of practicing this. Because if you and Leroy live way down in Alabama, and it's y'all, Leroy could be going upside Shaniqua's head. Ain't nobody gonna
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Ain't nobody gonna know. And every time she comes on the live to complain about it, Leroy can say, "I'm not doing that." And how would we know? We don't live in Alabama. You know what I'm saying? But if
Mhm.
there was 10 BAIO members that lived in Alabama, then Leroy wouldn't try it because he would know that them other 9 dudes they come in and see Leroy. So I think that that's what's
Mhm.
really important.
Let me tell you, it's so funny that you chose that name because um, I can't go into it, but there's somebody in my life that's affecting someone that I love, and that's his name, and it's along the same lines of what you just said.
Wow.
I told
Wow.
you we on the same wavelength. I'm not gonna. I'm
Yes.
not gonna keep like there, and there's nothing spooky or crazy about it. We are just in tune.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Like,
Obviously, and that is the reason why that situation, that person's name that you just said, and that situation that I'm talking about, that is a heavy, heavy situation, is the reason why what we're talking about today is so important because that particular person did not have parents that sewed into him at all. He was left on his own devices from a very, very young age. And he became a father of many, and he is ruining people's lives, women's
Wow.
lives, coming into these beautiful, beautiful, brilliant women's lives, and he is ruining their lives with his chaos because he is a scattered seed in need of guidance and direction. He needs a father, he needs an uncle, and he has no guidance. He has people that he's by blood related to, but they abandoned him, so they didn't have any. So the fact that they abandoned him means that they didn't have anything to give him, and there's so many of him around. When you see the essence of this man, you know that this man is a loving soul, but he has been beat up so much by his domestication that he has to have this outer shell, and it turned all that damage made him a crazy person who is going into other people's lives and destroying lives. And then what does that happen to the children? You know what I'm saying? What is happening to the children?
Yeah, I want to underscore that, because what you just said, people think.
Hello?
Hello? Oh no.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, like we've been taught to focus so much attention on behavior, and it's not, like Mari just summed it up right there in what she said about this guy, that people never poured into him. And because he wasn't poured into, he doesn't have the right beliefs and behaviors that people can see where he makes proper decisions. And this is
Right.
key to rearing children. You have to pour into them, mold them, shape them, give them
Yes.
the information. If they're wrong, teach them, guide them. And it follows you into adulthood unless you're poured into. It's obvious the kids who were poured into and who aren't. It's
Right.
very
Right.
obvious. And it's not about behavior, because behavior is the last thing. It's like the last step. It's these things are poured into means these are the steps that happen before you see the behavior show up.
Right. I agree. I definitely agree. That's why I do a domestic violence class, is because certain men were reared that it was okay to hit women. There's certain men that what you call it? There's certain men that just basically reacted in a bad way in one or two instances. But then there's a lot of men, and I always say at my class, I say, listen, there's some of you in here, you just made one mistake. And I understand that. But then there's some of you in here, you think it's okay to hit women. And if and I only have them for 26 weeks, which is 6 months. So I always say in the beginning, I say, if in fact you think that treat the woman right is thrown out the window or something like that, I'm not going to change that in 6 months. And I truly believe that. Like the class, either domestic violence classes either last 26 months or 1 year. And even in 1 year, if your idea is that to treat women is to hit them and stuff like that, I'm not going to change that in 6 months or 1 year. Like that's a big problem right there. You know what I'm saying? Because most dudes, I have all I can do to kind of change most dudes' perception on the basic stuff, like communicating. Like last week we did the difference between being assertive and aggressive, and you should have seen the pushback I was getting. These women nowadays, you can't be assertive with them. You got to be aggressive because they different, this, that, and the next thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? A woman is a woman. But, at some point, you got to pick better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You really,
Point.
because if you choosing a person that when you get assertive with them and not aggressive, they flip on you, then your intuition is already telling you that's the wrong. But we can't get into stuff like that because it's like it's a baby. What do they say? It's feed the baby milk before you feed them steak.
Yeah.
So, but either way, like I agree with you. Like when some of these dudes and their mentality towards women, it shocks me because I'm like, damn, how long was you allowed to think like that?
On their own. Yeah, no one ever corrected them.
Right.
And, no one ever brought it to their attention that a woman has something valuable called the intuition.
Right.
And I know people that frown upon that. I know people that frown. I know men that have frowned upon the fact that a woman would say, my intuition is guiding me through life, or or when their man goes to them and says, hey, this business plan that you have or this idea that you have, my gut is telling me that it's not, that is not gonna work.
Right.
I know men who didn't listen to the woman intuition and still it didn't work, but still yet
Right.
they don't want to accept the fact that women, that this is their gift, that women have intuition. Now, I think we all have it. I do
We
think
do.
we all have intuition, but I think that there's something about a woman's intuition that's undeniable.
Oh, there's no doubt. Here's what I think though. In addition to what you're saying, I learned over the years when I crossed from religion to spirituality that men have intuition too. However, Western thinking makes you think that anything spiritual, anything intuitive, anything like that that has to do with feeling is feminine. And so men,
Ah,
I
I've had a lot of dudes say spirituality is feminine to me, and I'm like, what? You know what I
no,
mean? So
I
so
totally
what
agree.
so what do you call you're dealing with God? Well, it's mathematics, and you start getting into that kind of stuff. So that's why that's why I think a lot of dudes deny woman intuition in the nation and in a lot of different groups that I've touched, as far as like African spirituality groups and things like that. We're taught that one of the women's greatest value is her intuition.
mm,
So again,
Right.
there goes that propaganda machine again,
yeah,
where we had to be re-educated to understand what to respect and what not to respect. But also, it's the environment, like Holop always says, which is, you have to be in an environment where it's okay. Because BIO, I think one of the beautiful things that we did, we made it okay for men and women who are smart to join
right.
and be safe. You know what I'm saying? The beautiful, intelligent words that my sister was speaking in the beginning of this show
Hmm.
tells you that this is the kind of person that we attract. But you know what I'm saying? Like if we didn't make it safe for intelligent people to come here, then she would be alienated. And so that to me is really what the problem is that a lot of people are just really ignorant on spirituality and intuition. And they think that it's foreign, it's feminine, or it's against God, which is crazy as hell if you really think about it.
Right. Absolutely.
Appreciate those words, though. Means a
Oh,
lot.
no doubt, sis. No doubt.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And
So
we've been waiting for some time for her to grace us with her presence. So I'm just so excited.
so I have
I,
I have
I'm,
something
I'm
some
listening in the beginning. I'm saying, who the hell is that? He's smart. I'm not used to that voice.
no,
Yes.
I'm just good at Googling.
Our professor. Don't let her fool you. That's our professor.
So I want to put some humor into this, if you'll allow me.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Okay, so I've titled this "We've all heard about the chase, but what is it really? What's the chase in everybody's mind?" I want you to think and give me some feedback on this. So, guys, from what I've observed, they actually prepare when they chase. It's not just a random thing. And there's strategy and tactics involved, a lot of planning and preparation before they approach a woman. And some men put a lot of thought into their approach. We call him the predator. And then some men approach as if it's a lottery. He's just a gambler. And then you have another category of men who act as if they're at the Kentucky Derby betting on a horse and it's a matter of beating the odds. So if
Yep.
you're one of those, if you identify with any of this, let me know in the comments. So men are thinking of the competition and the way they have to, what they have to do to win the female. That's a man's way of thinking when he's in the chase. They have to scope out the competition, they have to learn female patterns, and they have to reduce the odds of being wrong. Then they have to separate her from her pack. Sometimes women do travel in packs, right?
Hmm.
And then they spend a lot of time observing their target. And guys help each other out in this endeavor. And they do their due diligence. They do a lot of mental work before they approach. And one of the things they try to do is to minimize risk. And the alternative, if you're not the 666 guy, and I had to learn this term, the first six stands for six pack, six figures, 6 feet.
Oh
If
boy.
we have any 666 guys in the house, let us know, please. We'd love to
Put
know.
put the chicks in the chat room.
Put a six in the chat room. Where you at? Where the six
So,
is at?
I
so
love it.
guys who are not in the 666 category have to try harder, obviously, right? It's about getting through to a woman's defenses in order to talk to her. And women, if you've ever, been approached by a man or a guy, think about this as far as getting through a woman's defenses, because we do have a lot of defenses up. We're going to scan him. We're going to look at him. Is he tall enough? Is his teeth white? Is he dressed properly? Look at his shoes. Like, we're going to do all of that, right? But there's one element I wanted to highlight to women specifically, which is this is why women need to be careful how they deliver their rejection to a man. So if we're interested in connecting, we can't be so abusive. They have put a lot of effort before they even attempt to speak to us.
And I could always sense that. I could always sense that, so I think there's something missing when a woman feels, when a man takes the time to approach and give her a compliment, because a man is a human being first. So if a man takes the time to approach you and give you a compliment or try to be funny, there's no need to berate. There's no need to offend. I don't understand that. I don't understand even when the man offers you a seat on the train or opens a door for you. I don't understand what is the pushback, because as a human being, I could sense that this person had to think about what he was going to say. I could sense that he's a human being like me. I could feel that.
Exactly.
Where is the disconnect? I don't understand. What is the need to be aggressive and to hurt another human being? You can say thank you. You can be cute. You can be funny, coquettish, but you don't ever have to be rude or mean. I don't understand that.
Yeah. And it says more about the individual, right? But
Exactly.
the point I wanted to make about the chase is that if you're in it, it's temporary. It's an ego snack. The chase is what happens when humans are in heat, because we're animals. It feeds it feeds our ego. It's part of the mating process. There's only one goal, and those butterflies in your stomach are not necessarily a good thing. They're actually a warning from your solar plexus. What do you think about that? We've all been in the chase. So let's hear.
I struggle with that last sentence, but I would like to hear what Brother Daoud says.
Well, first thing I'm going to say is this: is that be very careful that whatever the man is chasing, you got more than that. Because
that's right.
I've heard this a lot on social media now. Oh, men don't chase no more. Men don't chase. Men don't chase. And what I would speak to is that it's not that men don't chase, it's that so many women have nothing more than the initial bait, which is usually sex. So if you're chasing a woman just for sex and then you put everything you can into it and you finally get it and there's nothing else to her but that's when a lot of women get confused, because they think, oh, well, he got what he wanted and he left. You didn't have anything else. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that is where there's danger, is that, if you like to be chased, but the only thing you have is the physical pleasure you could give a man, you're not very smart, you don't carry a good conversation, you stay at home all day, you have no levels to you, then the chase becomes even more dangerous for you, because then you can be addicted to being chased, knowing you only got one level, basically one. I talked about this. I talked about self-care versus self-care. Exactly.
Right. One-dimensional.
Exactly. So when the guy finally catches you, what else is there? And you're having a problem keeping dudes around because you only got one gear to give. And then here's the tragic part, though, because being in the situation I'm in, I talk to a lot of women, a lot of men. There's a lot of women that have a fifth and sixth gear, but they have so many walls up from being done wrong by the wrong guy they're only going to show you gear number one. So when dude gets past gear number one and he leaves, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, I knew he was only here just for that. Well, maybe he wasn't, but you didn't show him nothing else. So he got frustrated and he left. So that chase thing, man, I just think it's dangerous because you know I like to deal with, I'm a heterosexual man, so I like to deal with women that don't give me too much of a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I got to learn you, and we're not going to screw on the first date or anything crazy like that. I'm not looking for that. But at the same time, like, I took somebody out to lunch like maybe 3 weeks ago, somebody that I had been trying to talk to since October, and
Mm.
they finally agreed, and we went to lunch or whatever, and we had a nice time. We stayed there for 2.5 hours. So then after that, she said, I told her everything that I thought was great about the date because, I mean, I try to practice my gentleman stuff. And
Mhm.
she basically said, she gave me one point, which was, it was a nice convo. And then, like, never contacted me first, never hit me up. I said, oh, you're one of those. You're one of those people that wants a dude to chase you until you decide it's okay to stop running. And when you have that kind of situation, dudes will just basically leave you alone because this is 2022. Ain't nobody got to chase you around the track 50 times. And so, now I see her throwing up indirect shots on social media about, oh, I wish I was went on a date and all this other stuff. And I just laugh because you have a lot more to you, but you trying to hold back on purpose. You're punishing this guy because the guys that chased you in the past did you wrong, and the right guy came into your life that could have changed your life, and you refuse to bring down the other walls. So for me, the chase thing is like, I don't know, that is the absence of courtship and the absence of really good, I don't want to say controls, but really good infrastructure in the background to make sure neither party is done wrong. That's when I think you have the chase. When you don't have the
Yeah.
chase, it's really easy and safe for men and women to come together, have a conversation, and decide if they want to stay with each other.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I like what you said because, with those examples, we've probably seen or experienced some of those before. Um, the other point I wanted to make about it is the opposite side, which is if you want connection, you really need to slow things down. Because when things move slowly, you can appreciate and observe the other person's attributes. Are they consistent in their application? You can engage with questions and follow up questions. You can see how they react. Um, and I like to use this analogy. Imagine eating a meal in a rush versus slowly, so you can savor the texture, the flavors, the seasonings.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's a different when you slow things down, sometimes you find that there's things that you never thought of or may have missed or overlooked. And it's those small things that you appreciate that have a profound meaning and impact. And maybe it's because it's hitting your emotional center. So you will go away remembering it and it will be attached to this person now. And now a bond is developing. And this is how bonds actually develop. It's not from the chase, it's from slowing things down, listening to each other, and connecting.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Let me ask you a controversial question.
sure,
When we say slow things down, what other than sex are we slowing down?
I don't know if I understand you. What other than? Because
Yeah,
in my mind, if I'm slowing it down, there's no sex.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. So I don't know. And this is no disrespect to you, but when we say things, I think we absolutely just talking about sex. And I,
See,
I agree.
that's a man's view, but I'm interested to hear it, right? But yeah, go ahead.
No, 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 no. Well, I asked you the question. The question was, what are we slowing down other than sex?
Yeah, we slowing that down.
Well, I'm saying, what are we slowing down other than sex?
What do you mean? The getting to know. Like you have what other are we slowing down? The getting to know. Because some people don't get to know and then maybe get to know you later and it's like, ew, I really don't like this person.
No, I hear you. All I'm saying is that, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form combating what you're saying or going against it. I'm just saying that, um, I'm telling you what a man hears when he says slow things down. He
Okay.
he he only hears sex. which and anybody in the chat room that's a man that disagrees, please say so. But I'm pretty sure they're all
is
going
that
to
a
agree.
so is that a turn off, basically?
It's not a turn off if okay. So here's the thing. If you're worth it, it's not a turn off. If you're not worth it, it is.
Okay.
A man will wait for somebody that's worth it.
That's valuable to him.
Exactly. A man will not wait if you're not worth it. So if he gets
Mhm.
into the situation and he sees that you are just a smash and pass, that waiting's gonna go out the window. He's gonna find some kind of
Somebody else.
trivial excuse. I'm working too much. I just got a lot going on, and you ain't gonna see him no more.
Right.
But if you worth it, he'll wait.
If he
However,
thinks you're a
here's
quality woman.
right. But here's the one thing, and this is why I just wanted to delve into this topic a little bit more.
Okay.
I am definitely very patient and will wait for a woman of substance.
Hmm.
Me and many of the quality men I've talked to, what we have found is there are certain women that take this waiting thing or slowing it down is they make you jump through a whole bunch of hoops.
Mhm.
So under the guise of we're slowing things down or waiting, and I'm not saying my sister that's what you're saying in any way, shape, or form. I'm just telling you
Mhm.
how
No,
it is in this world that we live in.
yeah,
Under the guise of let's wait. It's almost like this woman has a stopwatch and you're running the combine. Well, you only ran a 4.3 this time. We don't do it yet.
I love that.
So when you say jumping through hoops, give me an example. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like?
It could be a whole bunch of. Have you ever heard the terminology shit test?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so what a shit test basically is when a relatively attractive woman, which you three ladies are,
Thank
when an attractive woman puts you through bullshit for no reason. In
Oh.
other words, come get me at 6, and she ain't ready until 7:30.
you. Ooh.
And call me at 8, and she ain't gonna answer until tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
And
I
watch
agree
how
with
you
you.
act.
No, as a
You know what I'm
woman, I
saying?
agree with
That's
you.
game
That's
playing.
bullshit.
That's game playing too, though,
Yeah, that's
right?
game playing. Because you know what? Naturally, women are going to test men, and naturally, men are going to test women. That's natural
You
amongst
think
both.
so?
Yes, I do think that.
I think
Um,
that it is as well. I mean, and when you say, I mean, in testing, I think that some people misconstrue what testing means.
Okay.
Not really a game, but I want to test and see how serious you are.
Right.
So but when they're playing the game playing comes into play when they start, you know, a lot of guys think that 90-day rule is games playing. You
Right.
know,
mm,
um, you was okay with going ahead and having sex with all these other people a week in, 2 weeks in. Now you want me to wait 90 days. I watched this skit on Facebook the other day where the guy did everything. They was frolicking through flowers and going on dates and everything, and then he got that he waited that 90 days. She gave it to him, and he got up and he left
Right.
because
Right.
you was just playing a game with me.
But not
You
only
went
that,
and
that's
read
all she
Steve
had.
Harvey book, and now if that's who you are, if you are a person and you've never had sex with a person before 90 days, your entire life, your entire dating life, and that's just who you are, then it's not a game for you. That's just, you have to feel comfortable with that person. But that 90-day rule, it feels like a game to most people, not just most men, just most people
Right.
in general. I've never put on, a time frame on when I'm going to be intimate with a person. I have to,
Right.
my body doesn't even work that way. If I don't
Right.
like you, I don't know. It don't take me 90 days to know whether or not I like you.
Right. Right.
My
Right.
body
Thank
just
you.
Well
does.
said.
I'm gonna tell. I met a guy, and he was the nicest guy. We were in our early 20s, and he had an awesome job. He had a house. He was raising his daughters. He was perfect. But I was not attracted to him. Not that I wasn't attracted to him physically. There was something about this man that literally turned my stomach. I would get
Mm,
nauseous around him.
mm,
So he could have taken care of me fine. He could have done all the husbandly things fine. My
right,
body was rejecting him for some reason. I don't know what that reason is because we never
right.
moved forward. Because, and I'm not going to play games with this man because I knew that there was nothing for us. We weren't going to be in a relationship.
See,
You
and
know,
playing games, this is the thing that gets women hurt, is when you
exactly.
know that you never intended to give this guy anything, but you trying to make him seem like you are,
Right.
and the well-meaning guys would just basically you lick their wounds and move on, but the non-well-meaning guys will basically want to do some physical harm to you behind that. And and for me, like I totally hear what you're saying. To me, like I've seen a lot since I've been outside for these last 2 years. I can tell you I've seen a lot. And there's a lot of women that play that oh, we're gonna slow it down. And it turns into some hoop jumping contest. And after I done jumped to the second hoop, I'm like, okay, did you clock me that time? She go, yeah, okay, good, because I'm out. I ran a 4.25. Now I'm out. You know what I
You know,
mean?
it's good when you can see the game and call it. So I appreciate
Right,
that.
Right, exactly. And
right,
the crazy part about that is that the man knows that this is a game, and
Yeah.
he's gonna play until he gets tired of that game,
right,
or until he gets the prize,
right.
and then he is out.
Hmm.
And what you said was really, really important about is she worth the game?
Right,
But sometimes even if you're worth it, if he's so fed up that you still not gonna get what you want.
right. But from what I've seen, like, the real women, they ain't gonna play no game. They
No,
just really want to.
Mhm.
First of all, they're going to make sure you ain't no serial killer, which is
right,
which is totally understandable.
right.
Because, like, being in my side of life, I know that there's some crazy men out here. So in no way, shape, or form would I ever encourage women, oh, well, you need to make it easy and just do it. No, I would never do that because I just know there's a lot of crazy dudes out there. However, like women of substance usually are very, I want to say, like, very truthful, very transparent. And they'll be like, look, I was trying to find out this and you passed with flying colors. You know what I'm saying? And they'll say stuff like that to you. But it's the ones that are world class game players that they just keep the game going. Okay, you need to jump 3 more hurdles, and I might kiss you on your cheek tonight. Like what?
That's a good one.
Ah,
All right.
man.
In the interest of time, Mari, your section's next.
Um, let's see. I think it's here.
Spiritual.
Oh, well, okay. Okay. So let me go back.
Well, while she's looking for that, you guys forgot one hunter style.
Oh,
But
Oh, wait.
See, there's a book by Robert Greene. It's called The Laws of Attraction. I highly recommend you read it.
yep, I have it.
Actually, not the law of attraction, law of seduction. It's the law of
Oh,
seduction.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and it gives like I think it's like 5 seduction styles. Um, Me, I know I'm a charmer. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that comes. People tell me that that's a Scorpio trait, but you give me a couple of minutes, and I may not be good with the words in certain ways, but I know if I get you, and we have a little bit of connection, I can charm. I definitely know I can do that. That is another hunting style. You basically have to learn how to, because all men are going to study women. It just depends on what degree that you study a woman, and then also it depends on what degree she's grateful for the study. Because a
yeah.
lot of times, you studying women, it doesn't help you with anything. Because if she's like, well, all you must say that to all women. That's the one thing no dude wants to hear.
Mhm.
If your line is that corny and someone has said that, then you got to step your rap game up. But I think that there are different seduction styles that go as far as that make you a different style hunter. Because all of the seduction styles that Robert Greene talks about, they aid a man in hunting when he's hunting a woman.
Mm.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
And you see, I'm glad you brought that up because as women, we're not taught to really pay the attention to men. We're taught that we're on the receiving end and
Right.
we center everything around ourselves for receiving attention, but we don't really study men. So we don't understand them. And I keep hearing, oh, men are really simple. They're really simple, really simple. ABC 1 2 3, ABC 1 2 3. And I'm like, well, if he's out there studying me and preparing and, doing all this prep work and strategizing, he's not a simple guy. He's not a
Nope.
simpleton, right?
Nope.
There's
Yep.
a lot going on. So, yeah, there's some disconnects on both sides. And I think, the manual that we've been given for people our age is just we should throw it out and
Right.
start something new and start actually talking to each other
Right.
instead of other people.
Yep.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly. And so that leads me to think, when it comes to spirituality, where are we getting our discernment from? For me, um, my discernment is the other word is also known as my intuition, my internal GPS, my spirit guides. Um, and I have to tell you that applies to my relationship. You know,
Uh-huh.
the so I am, as of very recently, full disclosure, I am no longer in my 10-year union, and that 10-year union um, was totally, for me, it was totally the way we met and the how we proceed. Everything I was guided to do, and it's a beautiful it was and it is a beautiful union. It's not, we have redefined our relationship, but because of the nature of our relationship, and because we were we are two grown and sexy individuals, even though the nature of our relationship has changed. um
I like
uh,
that.
we're thank you. We're still very much connected, and we're forever family. Continuing to support each other's dreams, and our union was only separated because of a dream that one of us had to pursue. And
Right.
the other one, embracing the fact that if you love someone, you set them free, um, so that they can be all that they need to be, became an actual part of our reality. And I am proud of that. I'm proud that we because that's the true definition of love. So in terms of spirituality, when I look up the definition, it says is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit, the human soul, as opposed to material or physical things. As Africans, we are so spiritual. In fact, one of the things that I read or was about to read, it talked about intuition, comparing a woman's intuition to the earth. We don't, first of all, we need to spend more time in nature. We need to spend more time connecting to all these beautiful gifts that God has given us. So you're a gift. Sister Asiri or Akide, you're a gift. Salima, you're a gift. Brother Daoud, you're a gift. Halip, you're a gift. I'm a gift. Okay, we are creations, but also the flowers and the birds and the trees and I believe in that hugging a tree movement, sitting inside of nature and allowing ourselves to hear what our spirit guides and our spirit guards are telling us is so crucial. And it's crucial to every aspect of our relationships. It's crucial to every aspect of our existence. And that includes our interpersonal relationships. That includes our love relationships. Um, so spirituality talks about, where do I find meaning? Right now, spirituality and beliefs go hand. There's a lot of common denominators. There's belief and comfort, reflections, ethics, the awe of, you know, acknowledging all the awe-inspiring creations that I just mentioned that exist in this world. So I think for me, you know, as a grown and woman who desires to be and will be in another relationship, um, my spirituality and my allowing myself to be guided to who the next person will be in my who would be the next who will be my who will serve as the reflection of my soul, who will be the next person that I invite into my world, who will serve as a reflection of my soul, and I will do the same for my spirituality and my discernment will come from that sense of knowing, that inner sense of knowing, that's attached to my internal GPS. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yes.
Because we all have a compass, and at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to use as your guide. And if you didn't get it in your family of origin, you still need it after you leave, and venture out on your own as a young person. So all of what we've talked about so far and the stuff more that we're going to cover, this is what we're trying to point at is we need to develop our own internal compass because the world out there is not like their blueprint is not something for us.
Right.
Like it doesn't bolster the human spirit. It's not about the human being. It's about the consumer, and we
Mm,
need to make that distinction so that we
hmm
know that what we do is for me, the human being, the self, not the consumer.
And
Right.
what you said right there is what every brown and black child, every African child needs to understand that what is out here, what we are being fed in our schools, what we are being fed on television, a lot of that. Yes, we might have some of us who are coming in and we're making changes here and there and we're giving our children, glimpses of who we are supposed to be, and what it looks like to defy the odds and listen to your internal GPS and go after what you want and answer your spirit's calling and all of that. But the reality is that how we are domesticated is all connected to consumerism. It's all connected to what you just said. And that means, and that's all the more reason why our spirituality is important, because we are being guided. We are being guided every step of the way. I know for me, there's certain things that I've been guided to do that I don't even talk to people about what I'm being guided to do, because if you tell the average person, they're going to say that's
hmm
logical. That's not
Yep.
logical. That doesn't make sense. But let me just tell you, there are times that I followed my intuition and it was almost as if somebody was doing it for me, because that's how in tune I was. And that's the reason why any successes that I've had, it's attached to the fact that I listen to my internal GPS. So the fact that we're in a country that is all about oppressing us as a people tells you that we have to not rely on that, and we have to rely on the spirit guides that are guiding us. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's a very big deal. And what the issue is, I think, for to help our young people is to help them realize, what does that feel like? Like, one of the things that you said, Asiri, was that what does your subconscious, what is it is I think you said, what does your subconscious feel like? And you said that was in the body,
Right.
right? That's big for me. Like, and I've been thinking about that ever since you said it. I'm like, okay. And then it hit me. We have a visceral reaction. Salima, you said that you had a visceral reaction to this dude. We have a visceral reaction to things. And but we have to learn to slow down long enough to even recognize what that is, and then we have to quiet the noise. And a lot of times the noise is in other people, because we're so busy trying to be what other people want us to be, that we don't take the time to listen to what we are being guided to do. And you and I don't have the same path. We may have similarities, we may have similar interests, we may even have the same goal, nation state, being a part of the BIO, but we don't bring the same exact things to the table. So I can't pay attention. I can't be obsessed with you, what your gifts are. I have to focus on me. How do I do that? I quiet the noise around me so that I can listen to and connect to who I am, so that I can understand what that physical, that visceral reaction is to everything, to everybody, and allow that to be my guide. That is a very powerful thing. And that is where our power lies on an individual basis.
Yeah, really good point. And just to add on to that, I'm just going to cover two areas on under the psychological domain. And one of the things I'm curious about, if people can respond and give us some feedback on, is things like therapy. Should we wait until there's a crisis before we seek help? And I don't know who you prefer your therapist to be, whether an actual psychologist or maybe a shaman or, a trusted mentor or trusted friend, but we seek therapy in different ways. But the idea popped into my head, like, why do we wait until there's a crisis? That seems to be the norm before we go and seek help. It's something we can be proactive about. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm aware of the fact that every human being has emotional needs. We have a need for security. We have a need for meaning and purpose in our life. As we mentioned, we have a need for intimacy, for status, for privacy, for attention, for control, even. And we also have a need for community. If we're sitting alone, especially during this COVID stuff, sitting alone at home, not being able to connect with people, or even losing people who are normally a phone call away, or a letter away, or a visit away, but you're no longer with these people, you're solo. That's also affecting your sense of community, but it is an emotional need. And we also have a need for achievement. So if any of these areas we have deficits, why do we wait until there's a crisis? That's the question I'm asking.
I don't
Well,
think we put a lot of bait. Go ahead, Selima.
I know that, like, personally, I just have learned over the years. This is something I had to learn. 10 or 15 years ago, I would have just let things build up until, it comes to a head, and I absolutely have to get whatever's bothering me out. Um, with age, with wisdom, with growing, I've I've learned to just get it out. Whether it be through music, I just have different outlets. Um, I've definitely gone to a therapist. Um, literally, the last time that I was in therapy, it was because um, I could feel myself getting to the point where I was going to have some type of um, a mental break, you know. So I personally, I was just like, okay, let me go ahead and get this done, and it helped me so much. It actually gave me courage. It allowed me to be free with my feelings. It allowed me to get a lot of things that I had built up in me out. So I think this is something that we should do as self care. You know,
Excellent.
getting those those things that we all of us hold things inside of us that we don't typically share with other people. And depending on what type of feelings and emotions those are, they could be detrimental to us. So it's very important that we have an outlet to get it out so that it's not something that is harming us.
Yeah, excellent point. And I'm glad you shared that because it's not, people use the label mental health. It's not a mental health thing. However, emotions that are suppressed or unrecognized or not being dealt with can harm you. Like, look at this whole Will and Jada thing. Will is now checked into a rehab center. Is anyone surprised?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
yeah, he's checked into a rehab. It was published a few days ago. So in the your emotional self can can become so stressed and so disconnected. Like you used the term, Salima, you felt you were going to have a mental break.
Mhm.
And yeah, it can put you in a state of dissociation, you know, not here with reality. And that type of stress is hard to live through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I
And
think some of us grew up in a in therapy was stigmatized, and it was, for whatever reason, in our communities it was frowned upon. I don't know what it is now, but I know for me, I get and I think a lot of firms do this, where they have you get like 6 sessions free under the Employment Assistance Program, EAP system.
mhm.
And I'm an advocate of going every, there's always something going on. I have a large family, so there's always something going on, and I am an advocate of, at the top of the year, taking advantage of my 6 sessions. And even if nothing is going on, just the idea of bouncing ideas with another person who is trained to listen and give guidance. And and sometimes it's a lot of times it's a lot of listening that is done, but there's always some nuggets that that I've received inside of my sharing, and there's something powerful too about just speaking out loud to someone that is not your family, is not your friend, um, and sharing your truth, and hearing yourself say the things to someone else that's not, because when we talk to each other, sometimes we go to the person that we know is going to, agree with us, and console us. We don't necessarily go to the person that's going to have an opposing view. So when you go to a therapist, that person is coming from, what's the word I'm looking for? But that person has,
Neutral.
Impartial.
thank you,
Yeah.
those two
Yes.
words, impartial, and so I think that it's always helped me. And I think it's, so I'm a part of that plan. That's a part of my maintenance plan, is because there are a lot of people that lean on me, so that's my way of, I do a lot of things to reset myself, um, physically. So that's my way of kind of resetting myself at the top of the year, just having these 6 sessions, 1 session a week for 6 weeks, and just kind of talking through whatever is happening in my world. And it's something that I really advocate. If your firm, if your companies that you work for offer it, I suggest that we definitely take the chance. And if you can, and if the first person you meet doesn't work, keep trying.
Yeah,
Keep trying till you
that's
find someone
important.
that connects with you.
That's
yeah,
important because that relationship between yourself and your therapist is very important. And it's you're confiding in them, and you're supposed to be telling them things that a lot of times you typically wouldn't tell to your family and your friends. So you have to trust them. And if you don't feel that trust, then try someone else. And the first person that you meet is not necessarily going to be your therapist. And there's
Right.
nothing wrong with trying other therapists. Like, just keep going.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really good point. So, the other favorite topic of mine, because I'm actually reading this book, I'll tell you the name of the book. It's called The Four Stages of Psychological Safety: Defining the Path to Inclusion and Innovation. And it's a fancy title for things we do every day, but we're not scientists, so we don't have time to observe, every detail of human behavior. So leave it to the scientists to identify something called psychological safety. And what that is psychological safety is a condition in which you feel included, safe to learn, and safe to contribute, and safe to challenge the status quo, all without fear of being embarrassed, marginalized, or punished in some way. So I know when we were having our development meeting, we talked about this, and it impacts us as early as school. You know,
Yeah.
it's the reason why children drop out of school, because if you don't include them, then they're not going to make it to the second stage, which is it safe to learn here? If there's no inclusion amongst the peer group, right? The teacher can only do so much, but the peer group really has to include you. And then you see it in the workplace, and it's the same thing. There's bullying in school, there's bullying in the workplace. There's harassment in school, there's harassment in the workplace. There's all this
Mhm.
forms of disconnection going on. And what the scientists are saying is it's leading back to this. We don't have psychological safety. And I thought, well, why don't we have psychological safety? And I thought, well, is it because we've got laws that say if you kill somebody, you're going to jail? Murder, homicide, rape, assault, all of those things, you're going to jail. So assaulting somebody physically, people are going to think twice now, and they've curbed their behavior. So what's the landscape that's left? The mental landscape.
Mhm.
And this is how we harm each other now, is psychologically. So, and if you look at entertainment, you'll see it in the movies. It's always a psychological thriller,
Mm.
right?
It's
There's
my
all
it's my legal it's my legal obligation to inform you that I'm going to steal this and use it on Tuesday.
I'm I'm really appreciative that you think so highly of it.
Oh hell yeah! This is. Let me finish my legal jargon here. Okay, so this will be stolen.
I
You
love
will
it.
give
I love
you
it.
will you will give loose. You will be given loose credit. However,
I
I am
love it. I
damn
love your
sure
honesty.
I am damn sure going to revel in the glory because if you really think about it, it's like this is the reason why so many of us either got divorced or broke up with somebody
Oh
is
Mm.
wow.
because those four stages wasn't there. The four safe stages of psychology. First of all, a woman will tell a man very quick, "I don't feel like I'm included in your decisions, right or wrong."
Oh
Mm.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you don't
Absolutely.
know, if you as a partner are not including your partner in your decisions, that's one of those stages. Like those four stages. See, I be out on the lookout for stuff like this all the time because this reminds me of how my mentor tied the four stages of grieving with the four stages of grieving a relationship. You know
Mm.
what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Denial, anger, depression, and then acceptance. These four stages right here, I'm damn sure gonna dig into this and do something on this on Tuesday, because this is really powerful.
Yeah.
I'm really touched that you like it because it's a really fascinating book. You'll eat this up. You'll love it.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it right now on Amazon
Yeah.
right now.
Really good book. Totally worth it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so one of the points additionally I wanted to make was, it impacts things like when you're in certain circles, people will dumb themselves down so that they don't outshine other people or they don't
Right.
want to bring that attention to themselves. And I think that's so sad and fair because, the creator made us all diverse. We
Mhm.
have a
Mhm.
diverse set of skills.
Mhm.
And if you're going to dumb yourself down thinking that that's going to help, it's not helping anybody. You got to bring forth those fruits to the table. That's how we have abundance.
Yeah.
And we have to have the abundance mindset in our group if we're going to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. Because what we're looking at is not just simple steps, we're looking at major moves, major shifts. We have to change our way of thinking, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll turn
And
it.
mhm.
Mhm.
No, go ahead.
I just was going to say I'm going to turn it over to Salima to talk about emotional.
The
Ooh.
color book is light white and blue, right, sis?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. Emotional. So, the majority of us are very emotional beings. Even if we don't know it. Sometimes we block those things out. I'm a very, very emotional person. Um, I have to sometimes get my emotions under control because they I don't put my emotions externally. They're all internal. So I'm the type of person, I feel everything, So being emotional aware is it's huge because if you don't know how to control your emotions or you don't know why you're feeling the way you're feeling, the majority of us, they externalize those things, those feelings, and that's the only way they can get them out. Um, that's another reason, again, why I go to therapy because I have that's my biggest problem, controlling my emotions. And I keep my emotions bottled up. It's been like that since I was a child, you know. So we have to make sure that we're in spaces where we're comfortable with expressing our emotions, with telling people how we feel, and making sure that we give that information to people that we trust. Um, I'm the type of person I used to, I don't do it any longer. I used to give that to everyone. I'm feeling X, Y, and Z, and people would use that against me, So you just have to be emotionally mature in order to navigate through the world that we are in right now. It's very important to have emotional maturity, especially what we're trying to do. If we don't have our emotions intact, um, we're not going to go anywhere.
Wow.
And that leads me to think keeping the emotions intact is goes hand in hand with having peace within yourself, and what we talked about, having peace within yourself as a woman versus the angry black woman, and what exactly does is the angry black woman, what is that? Because like we discussed, that is something that has been politicized and has been weaponized, right? What is the anger? And then Asiri, you talked about um righteous anger, you know all of that plays a part, and it has to do in terms of controlling your emotions and having an understanding. We have to be able to put those things in its proper place, in order for us to have peace, because we're talking about the whole purpose of this is interpersonal communication. So if we how can we connect with one another if we're not controlling our emotions? How can we connect with one another if we don't have a sense of peace within ourselves? And what do we do, especially as a woman, as a black woman? What do we do to maintain our peace? That's something that's a practice. And I like to say and believe that practice makes permanent, but that is a practice. What do we do to maintain our peace when we have, as women, as black women, we have so many roles that we play, so many things that we do, and so much to deal with in society, as do our male counterparts. So what do we do? What do you guys do to bring peace, to keep peace
Yeah.
in our lives? What do you
Yeah. It makes me think of, the information that we've been told since childhood. We've been given the mother template, and it's instinctive to nurture and to bring peace if that's what you experience in your family of origin. But worldwide, it's pretty universal, right? Even if you don't have children, if you're in the presence of children, many women naturally will display that mothering instinct. And for those who have not experienced peace, you're kind of sitting there wondering, well, why the hell am I the oddball out? Why am I not this peaceful mother figure that's commercialized and, put on a pedestal? And sometimes you're left without any direction. And then on the flip side, you have men, as far as their templates, the traditional father template teaches that a woman leaves her father's house and goes to her husband. And that's why we have fathers walk the bride down the aisle, and the husband is waiting at the end of the aisle. A father protects and provides. These behaviors are ancient, yet they're still practiced today. So if you're coming from, again, family of origin that, some of this is broken or missing, or there's some gaps, right? You end up leaving your family of origin with those gaps. They're not separate now that you left them, they're with you. And you're going to function with the gaps. So, whatever the father figure was, if he wasn't this universal template, whatever the father figure was, that's what you're carrying with you. And I think we just have to educate or share more of this information with people so that they understand it is normal. Whatever it is that you were formed with is what you're carrying with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normal. All of us are carrying something because all of us, there's no manual when you're born. No manual. This is an experiential learning here. It's trial by error in some cases. So we really just need to wake up and see the reality that we're in, that we can help each other. We can make this ride a little bit softer just
Right.
by helping each other. That's all I want to say on that.
I like that. Make this ride a little bit softer. I love that. I love that.
I definitely agree with that. And I also think that we have to stop allowing people to define who and what we are.
Excellent point.
I remember someone saying to me, I shouldn't tell women um, about rearing children or raising children or, how children should be treated because I don't have any physical children of my own. And when I got over my complete and utter sense of disrespect that you feel like you have the right to tell me what I can and can't do, I go back to my relationship with my nieces and nephews and how when my nephew graduated from high school, they were given roses to give to their parents. And his dad was there, his mom was there, my mom was there. I completely expected him to give roses to those three people, you know. And when he brought me a rose, I broke down in tears. Like I completely broke down because I didn't realize that he considered me a parent. I didn't realize that I played that much of a role in his life. He's graduating from high school. And to me, that was just what I was supposed to do as his aunt. I was supposed to give him whatever it was that I could give him, to make him be a better man. And I was completely shocked that he brought me a rose. So we have to not allow people to tell us, who and what we can and can't be, depending on their views, limited at that,
Right.
because you are I've come. My nieces and nephews get upset when I say I don't have children. It makes them up angry with me sometimes, and they're like, "Well, what are we?" you know,
That's
and
right.
it's 20 plus of them. So I have, all the children that I need
Right.
because I have been able to put things in them that no one else would have been able to do, you know. So we have to make sure that we go according to your path and who you are as a person, you know. And if you're true to that, you'll be happy, you'll be healthy, and your life will be as fulfilling as you allow it to be.
That's right. Well said. Well said.
Now,
So, mhm.
is Salima continuing? You've got the
Okay. This was, and I say it after every show. This show actually was one of my best one of our favorite shows. One of my favorite shows. This one, um, I had two of the best co-hosts that I could ever have,
Oh,
and
you're
then we had
sweet.
our guest speaker who came in and he gave us what we needed on the other end of the spectrum. Our counterpart, our brothers. Um, I appreciate you all, and I love you all, and
I
I
do
can't wait
love
for
it
the
too.
next segment of this amazing series of shows that we're going to have.
Yes, we love
Um,
you more.
I thank you all so much, and I thank everyone for joining us and just being a part of Sisters for Nationhood. This is going to be a show where we're going to hit the real topics, the hard topics. We'll have some fun, but we're going to make sure that we are a better people, and we're building a nation, and this is the foundation of our nation. This is our book.
That's oh yes, our book.
Yeah, yeah.
Our
So
book.
let's.
Well said. Well
So
said.
Yes, yes.
exactly. So Mari, you're going to talk about the famous window.
Oh, okay. So I thought we were closing out.
No,
Okay.
we're
Oh,
not done.
okay. Hold on. Hold
Well,
on.
me myself, I'm gonna bounce this. I'll see
All
y'all on
right.
the
All
next one.
right.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks, Dawood.
Okay, so the Jahavi window, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Johari window is basically a phrase that says, or I guess it's a terminology that has to do with improving our self awareness and personal development among individuals when they are in a group. The Johari window model is a convenient method used to achieve the task of understanding and enhancing communication between members, again, in a particular group, or even in a relationship, which is considered a group, two or more. So the thing that's interesting to me is the blind spot, but I'm going to read what it says here. Um Known to others, and a Siri, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
Because can you help me break this down, and then I'll just come back and I'll talk about the blind spot.
Okay. So on the left side is your information that is known to self, right? So there's two boxes. The first one is the one up at top says open. So that's information about you that both you and others know. I know Mari. I know Mari's a mother and also a grandmother. She has children. She works. She belongs to the BAIO. That's open information known to self and known to others. Below the open is the hidden portion, which is it's known to self, but it's not known to others necessarily. And the definition there is the information about you that you know, but others don't know. So the only thing that would change that from, information that others don't know is that you would disclose it because you're the one that knows it. So that's the known self, the left side. And if you look at the bottom, it says the bigger your window on the left side of the pane, the more self aware you are. So the part that you're interested in is the other half of the self, which is not known to self. So this is information about you that you do not know. And one of the things what do human beings have? We have blind spots. And that's information about you that you don't know, but others know it. That's the flip side. So,
Right. Now, with that right there, um, that's very important to me because it is important to me to see how other people see me, because that's where my growth lies. And that's the beautiful thing about being in a monogamous relationship is that when I say that that person serves as a mirror to your soul, that person serves to tell you about your blind spots, in a loving way, so that you can grow, so that I can grow and expand. In a relationship, I'm sharing with my partner what I desire, who I desire to be, how I desire to grow. I believe that every day that we wake up is an opportunity to recreate anew. If there's something that you didn't like that happened in your story yesterday, rewrite that story today. So how can I rewrite those stories if I don't know what's the blind spot? I don't have the information about myself that other people see. So one of the things that I suggested, and one of the things that was a part of my practice and will be a part of my practice again in my relationship, is having moments where I ask questions. I literally write down the questions and ask my partner to tell me things about me, and put it in questions like, what are my weaknesses? What are the things that you love about me? What are the things that you would like to see that I improve? What is it that I think what is it that I think I'm the bomb at that I'm really may not be the bomb at, I tell you that I want to teach at this university. Why do you think I can do it? Why do you think I cannot do it? Those are ways of, in an interpersonal relationship, those are ways to discover what your blind spot is.
I like that you brought up that, in a relationship, that put it in that context, because blind spots happen all over all the time. And the thing about relationships is, unless you're in a relationship, you're really not going to get honest feedback from people
Nope.
telling you what your blind spot is,
Nope.
right?
Because we're afraid to tell each other things because we don't receive it well. We don't receive constructive criticism well. The average person does not. And
Right.
the average person actually rejects it and says, "No, I'm not." That's not true.
Exactly.
I didn't gain 20 pounds.
And then the last box underneath that part is the unknown. So that's information about you that neither you know nor the other knows. So that's your potential. By learning those blind spots and getting that feedback in the form of a relationship, you still have the potential to change and to do better, or, do less. Maybe you're doing too much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's where your potential lives. And you want to maximize that. And you want to do some self discovery to find out the layers that you've been neglecting.
Yeah.
So
The
I don't want to
layers
keep,
that you've been neglecting. That's it right there.
yeah, I don't want to keep going on too much. I'm very passionate
Okay.
about the subject, but yeah, we've gone 2 hours so far. I hope
Yeah.
everyone enjoyed it.
It was beautiful.
It was so
It was
amazing.
beautiful.
Oh, any last words?
Um,
Um,
Salima?
I don't really know last words. I think we've said it all, but we still got more. Just
Yeah.
not this evening.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I think this is a good starting point. I hope the 2 hours was well worth it for those that are viewing and those that will view. Please like and share, because this is something, we want to change minds. We want to be the change that we wish to see. I think I'm okay with saying that for all of us, right? That we want to be the change that we want to see. Do you ladies agree?
Absolutely.
So a Siri?
I'm here.
Okay. So I feel that this is a way, us talking about it and thinking about it, this is not just about giving suggestions. This is also about us taking ownership for ourselves and making changes. I know for me, it's about learning and making changes for myself so that I can be the example for my adult children.
Mhm.
Um, I can be the example for my grandson. We can have these kitchen table conversations, because we want to change the narrative and we ultimately want to change the trajectory of our lives. There's just too much power and too much potential and too much light and love that I see inside of my brothers and sisters when I look in our eyes, each other's eyes. So, this is just a contribution to helping to bring some of that forward, as we work towards the goal of building a nation state.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because, I was when I heard the question initially about dating, I thought, "Oh, okay, how are we going to fit this in?" But it fit right in because there are things that are essential about the human being, and we're no different. It's just that we have not had the time to focus on it because we've been in survival mode, and we need to shift to the next mode, which is thriving. And this is us thriving.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the reason why, before we leave, the reason why the question was who teaches us to date, and it was one of my daughters that said that. Who teaches us how to date? You know, and but that is a big question because if we're not taught how to date, if we don't have our uncles and our fathers, taking us out on our first dates, if we don't have, we're picking mates that do not serve us well, and we're perpetuating dysfunction in our families when we don't. So it's a simple question, but it has a lot of force because if we're not taught how to date, we're not picking, and not just us women, men too. Who's teaching the brothers how to find a mate? You know,
Hmm.
and if we don't do that, my goal is to not perpetuate the dysfunction that I've been a part of, unfortunately, and that I'm watching all around us. Because
Yeah,
I know that we're bigger as a people, we're bigger and we're better than that.
definitely.
So
So,
Absolutely.
those are my closing thoughts.
All right.
well, I think
Um,
we do have enough for a part two. So I'm glad that part one went off today.
yeah,
Absolutely.
this was a great discussion. Having a brother come and give a brother's perspective, especially that brother was amazing. Um, and we need you. Wait a minute. Who is that? Hey there.
Hey,
Oh, hey, at the end, you're coming
Right.
hey, I'll let y'all cook.
in?
I don't want to interrupt that.
Oh no, that you would have been awesome. You could have come in. This
Nah, y'all
was
did good. Y'all did good.
yeah,
This is
this
gonna be
was
one of those archives you listen to over and over again.
yeah,
Good.
this was a really really good one. Like I said, they just keep getting better. I'll say that again. Um, so we're gonna have more. We have so much more.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Well, this was beautiful.
Good. I'm glad everybody liked it. So,
Any closing words, Hollop?
So there's gonna be a part two. Like, were you able to get through all of it, or just like half of it?
no, there's no, probably 75, two-thirds of it. There's still a third more, but we can use it for part two.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be evolving over time. So I think there'll be, you know, there'll be other parts to it. There's just so much that we could impact. I
Wait, what
mean,
happened to her voice?
Yeah, sounds like muffled, Salima.
I'm muffled.
Yeah, a little bit.
You
You
sound
sound
like you're speaking out of a cup.
I don't know what happened. I guess my earpod said you've been on here for 2 hours. Get off. I don't know.
oh,
Oh,
no,
Oh,
that's
there you are.
there you
Oh,
go.
I'm back. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All
But
right, guys.
I'm gonna go. We're gonna end this call, this live, and we will have more. Um, we're gonna do every other week, so we'll have one. We'll be back in the following week, not next weekend, but the following weekend. We'll have part two of this series,
the
All right.
23rd.
23rd. Yes, sir.
All right. Sounds
Cool.
awesome. Peace and love, everyone.
Ladies, thank you again. It was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Peace.